for making it here. Hopefully the roads weren't too bad. Superintendent Walters is not here today, so I'll preside over the meeting. We do have a guest with us. Whitney is here with us in Sohail's place. He's stuck in Dallas, so she's going to be our legal representation. So if you have any hard questions, please guide them toward her, not me. Or Ashley. Ashley knows them. So you guys will, it'll be a good meeting, and we'll run right through these things. The main thing that we're going to need to get to today is that emergency rule, so it's later on the agenda. I want to make sure that we get that timely for schools, but a few comments I would make before we get going. You have an FCCLA packet there. That's an invitation if you want to be a judge for them. That is March 26th and 27th. There is a morning and an afternoon session if you could only do one or the other. If you're willing to be a judge or have time to be a judge, they would appreciate that, I'm sure, for their STAR events. I want to make sure that you had that information available. We're always looking for judges for all of our CTSOs, and it is CTSO season. We have a few things going on at the Capitol right now since it's session. I will be leaving right after this to go meet with Senator Seifert to talk about our budget. She's the one that carries our budget in the Education Committee in the Senate, and so we'll be discussing that again and making sure that we're clear and on the same page when she presents that. And next Wednesday, she's asked me to be back at the Capitol for their committee hearing in case there's any questions when she is presenting that. So discussions have gone well on that side. A few big bills that we are working on are not necessarily big, but interest to us. Adjunct bill for our CareerTech centers that have instructors that count as the academic component for our K-12 schools, trying to modify where we can put rules around that adjunct and not have to do it every year. So the example has been an RN teaching in health careers. They have the knowledge. They're not a licensed science teacher, so we have to adjunct them, which is fine. But we see it a little bit redundant that we have to do the same instructor every year as an adjunct. We should do a one-time approval, and then if it changes, we would make an adjustment there. So we're seeking to get authority to do that from the legislature. Of course, I'll be working with SDE on that, hopefully to get rules put in place where it would make that easier. Pharmacy tech is another bill that we're interested in. I wanted to make you aware of. We are trying to get apprenticeships started in pharmacy tech programs and trying to give our students that are in pharmacy tech programs the opportunity to practice. Not only job shadow, but have tasks that they could complete, and it's called Phase 2. We have to get authority from the pharmacy board, so we're working on that, and we are working on a legislative process to make that happen. We didn't really seek out the legislative process, but Mark Lawson, representative from DeepU, Drumright, that area, had a request in his area from the pharmacies. So we've got tagged into that bill, and we're working on that. We're going to talk later about funding when we're in agency goals, so I'll save that for there. We are working with Burns Flat, Western Tech, to add an aerospace program. It was a request from the industry. PAC is the company that's out there, has received quite a bit of money from the state to build a new hangar and expand some things that they're doing out there. So we are looking at how can we support that process. So I want to make sure the board is aware of that. So those the big topics that are going on while we're in the midst of rolling out our frameworks for the next year, starting programs for the next year, and then the big discussion being funding, which we'll talk about later. Any questions about ongoing events before we move into the meat? All right. First thing that we'll do is we'll take action on the possible action on the minutes of the January. I haven't called roll. I haven't done the flag salute. You got me. You guys caught me off today. I'm rocking and rolling. Hey, let's go back and do those things. Thank you. Gosh. Okay. Ashley, will you call roll, and then we'll do this meeting right.
Mm-hmm. Michael Brown.
Here.
Peter Dillingham.
Here.
Shaylin Hanning.
Here.
Edward Hillary.
Here.
Rob Seaman.
Here.
Zachary Archer.
Here.
Awesome. It looks like we have a quorum. Let's start this thing right, and let's get a flag salute, and then we'll do an Oklahoma flag salute in a moment of silence. Please join me in salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a salute to the Oklahoma flag. I salute the flag of the state of Oklahoma. Its symbols of peace unite all people. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Mike Brown, I'm going to blame you for your motion before we started the meeting.
It's a coffee machine.
Coffee machine causing all the problems. All right, well, you've already heard my comments. We're not going to go through that again. But we do need to have approval or discussion on the minutes of the January 16th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Those should be in your packet. I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve said minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Ashley, will you call a vote?
Zachary Archer.
Yes.
Rob Seaman.
Yes.
Edward Hillary.
Yes.
Shannon Hanning.
Yes.
Peter Dillingham.
Yes.
Michael Brown.
Yes.
Awesome. Motion passes. Items number 2.01, Governor's Proclamation recognizing CareerTech, Career and Technical Education Appreciation Month. Russell Ray.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for making the trip. This important board meeting. February is National CTE Month, and it's the Communications and Marketing.
Russell, is your mic on? Sorry.
There we go.
I don't want you to pull a Brent Haken.
Usually I don't need one of these, but yeah, it's National CTE Month, and the governor has declared February to be a Career and Technical Education Appreciation Month for us. Every month is Career Tech Month, but we use this as kind of an opportunity to brag about Career Tech, kind of educate folks about the benefits and the value of career and technical education. Believe it or not, there are some folks out there that are on the fence about Career Tech. Some lawmakers may be on the fence about Career Tech, and I see this as kind of an opportunity to kind of push those people on the right side of the fence and get them on our side. And I'm happy to report that our social media campaign this year is yielding record results on all 4 of our social media channels. This is the best Career Tech month we've ever had in the 5 years I've been here. We have a little over 20,000 social media followers on all 4 of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X or Twitter, or whatever they call it nowadays. And that is up from about 10,000 followers. So we went from 10,000 to more than 20,000 in just 5 years. So we're doing great there. So far this month, in the month of February, to yesterday, 20,953 people have engaged with our social media content posts. That's up 63% versus the same time last year. Total impressions on all 4 of our social media channels is 670,679. That's up 160%, again, versus this time last year. Our Facebook impressions are at 591,294, up 190% versus this time last year. Engagement for Facebook is at 18,500, up 88%. Instagram impressions are at 66,000. That's up 97%. And Instagram engagement is at 1,204. That's up 177%. So again, I got to give a big shout out to Brenna Long, our social media manager, the entire communications and marketing team. It's just not posting content. You got to create that content, and we've created a lot of great content just for February. And our efforts, combined with the efforts of our statewide marketing group, which handles social media content for the tech centers, we're doing an outstanding job of reaching people. As you can see, we're reaching people we haven't been able to reach before. Like I said, this is an opportunity to change minds about Career Tech. I think most people support us. There are a few people out there that are still on the fence, and this is an opportunity to influence public opinion. That's how I see it, and that's how we approach it. at this time, I'd like to give you kind of a sample of what people are seeing on social media by featuring a couple of videos. This first video is our Career Tech Month launch video with Brent. Go ahead, Braden.
At Oklahoma CareerTech, we believe in creating opportunities that lead to brighter futures. CareerTech is all about empowering students, supporting educators, and driving innovation in our state to develop a world-class workforce. February is National CTE Month, a time to celebrate the crucial role career and technical education plays in shaping Oklahoma's future. So what is CareerTech? Well, CareerTech is
Oklahoma FFA,
Counseling and Career Development,
agricultural education,
CareerTech Testing Center,
Oklahoma TSA,
skill centers,
Oklahoma FCCLA,
B-Mite,
STEM education, health science education,
accreditation, Perkins Administration,
family and consumer sciences education,
adult education and family literacy,
work-based learning and apprenticeships,
workforce and economic development,
Oklahoma BPA and DECA,
information management, trade and industrial education, Oklahoma Skills USA,
printing services,
Oklahoma HOSTA,
financial services,
TANF, and JAG,
Oklahoma Apex Accelerator,
leadership and professional development.
Together, these divisions make up Oklahoma CareerTech, an innovative system dedicated to preparing students for success, connecting educators with resources, and meeting the needs of our workforce. Join us all month long for National CTE Month as we celebrate you, our students, educators, industry partners, and staff, because you make it all possible. Oklahoma CareerTech, Oklahoma's workforce leader.
All right, that video got some great interaction in the first few days. I think like 5,000 interactions in just the first few days. The second video is a 60-second spot we produced. This video, this commercial is now airing on the Flashpoint political TV show on Sundays. And it features the economic impact of Oklahoma CareerTech. Go ahead, Brad.
CareerTech doesn't just train workers, it transforms lives and builds stronger businesses in Oklahoma. Year after year, Oklahoma CareerTech makes a game-changing impact on our state's economy, nearly $1 billion, through a network of 29 technology centers, 16 skills centers, and 32 adult education and family literacy providers. CareerTech supported 8,654 jobs and delivered $456 million in wages. Every dollar invested in CareerTech returned over $9 in economic output and generated $10.48 in future earnings for students. Students who complete a CareerTech program on average earn $16,000 more annually than a typical high school graduate. CareerTech, Oklahoma's workforce leader.
Well, there you go. The jury's still out on Brent's Duck Dynasty beard featured in
Jellyfish
those
lighting
videos.
is an all-in-one.
He's trimmed it up a little bit since then.
After I saw the videos.
But that's just a small sample of what people are seeing. We're posting content. We have more than 30 divisions there at CareerTech, and we're posting social media content on all of them. Again, a big shout out to Brent Long and the entire communications and marketing team. And as you can see, this campaign is yielding record results social media wise, and we're going to keep on trucking, and we'll come back and share with you the results of our social media campaign at the end of the month. With that, if you have any questions, be happy.
Any questions for Russell or how his team's working? One of the cool things that they're doing recently, I heard from the field, is taking each team and their pictures and putting it out on social media so that the field knows kind of, oh, that's the people that I talk to on the phone and just work with. And so it's been really, really good for people to engage with and know who the team is at the agency. That's been great.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. You bet.
Thank you, Russell. We will skip 2.02. The students or student that we wanted to present, their school is out today, and so we did not want to force that student to be here on a day when their school was out, so it didn't make sense, and then our advisor will try to get them back at a later date to come back and present. So we'll skip 2.02 and we'll move into management information. The first one is 3.01, which is discussion and review of agency goals. And I'm going to handle that. Brady, do you have that Excel sheet? What I wanted to do is break down, one of our goals was to talk about the funding formula. Can you click on just that 75 million without STEM tab, that green one down at the bottom? Either one of those will work fine. So I wanted to walk you, and scroll all the way up, please, Braden. Sorry, I'm like an armchair quarterback here. So our old funding formula, and you don't have to study that a whole lot because this is still in draft form, but the old funding formula that had been working for technology centers for years, we've talked about before in this body, was created off of a number, really a fictitious number of what a program should cost. And it never really drove outcomes because you couldn't really prorate that to be accurate for what the school needed. In the funding formula, it's supposed to take into account the ad valorem that is collected at the school, the transportation that is provided by the school. It's supposed to take into account the number of programs that a school has, the number of campuses, and then the instructional cost that the school has. So instead of working the way that it had and not actually being available to drive outcomes, we've been in a remodel phase this whole year of how can we re-envision the funding formula. So the Finance Committee of Superintendents has been meeting with me and Lisa Batchelder, and then our Brent Meeks, who is our auditor for performance now. We've been going through how can we audit the programs that a school has and then make something that is equitable for schools depending on their size and their ad valorem collection, but drive outcomes. Make sure it incentivizes more programs to be added and more students to be served. So what we've done is built that out now. We still have some things we're working through, but you'll see that yellow box at the top, that 75 million. That's the number, if approved, our budget approved, that would be the number of dollars that we can input into the funding formula. Currently it's at 50. But if we get approved for the increase that we've asked for, it would be 75 million that we can put into this formula. So if we look at that, we've broken it down into several different categories, the first of which is this green box. It is the program funding mechanism. If you'll scroll down just a little bit, Braden. The numbers on the left, general ad valorem collected. That's at each school, what is collected. And so from there, we are determining what should be the percentage that a school should put into full-time programs, knowing that they have to also have administration, they have to also have business and industry services, they also have to have ACD, which is adult career development training. So we're playing with 60% or 70%. That's the scenarios that we've run through so far, and we're going to run those back through our Finance Committee and review. So I've taken their general fund collected, multiplied it times 0.7 right now, and that would be the money available for full-time programs. Divide it by the audited number of programs that they have and determine what the amount they have available locally for each of those programs. And you could see if we scroll down through that just a little bit further, it ranges from 127,000 all the way to 300 and something thousand that is available based off the local funds. So I take an average of those, and that average, if you'll scroll back up just a little, is that 323,000 on D there, average program funding. Thank you, Braden. Man, you're doing good. That's great. We are now in a place where how do we get schools closer to the average to create that equity that we talked about for the student? So as we work through that green portion of the formula, now what do the schools below average need to get to the average? And then that prorates a number that would be available to the school, and that is the biggest piece of the funding formula. Then the campus allotment, which is in statute that we have to provide, is 10% of the overall allocation, which is in yellow there. So depending on how many campuses you would have, that's how many dollars you would get. Now campuses have to be approved by this board. So we don't often have new campuses approved. Last year we had Coweta campus in Indian Capital approved. It has to have 5 eligible programs, full-time programs to be a campus, and there's some other criteria as well. So that's how they get approved. You all have to do that, and then they can receive the funding for that. The green, or not the green, sorry, the blue, if I get my colors right, that is the next column, which is also 10% of available dollars, is student services and instructional cost is what that stands for. So that's based off of we call the blue sheet that we keep every year, that schools have to turn in their actual expenditures to the agency. And so we look at the rate of which they spent dollars on instructional costs, and then transportation's included that as well. And if they are on average, they would not receive a cut in that allocation. If they're below, they would receive a cut. If they're above, they would receive an increase in dollars, an incentive for doing a better job. So though it's only a small portion, 10% of the overall allocation, it does change what a school may receive. Anywhere from, there are schools that would, in this formula, get nothing, and there are some that would receive up to $300,000. So it does provide some incentive. The next column over that is gray is the student service rate, and we use that as an incentive. For the more students you serve in your 11th and 12th grade sending schools, you would receive bonuses to serve more. So if you're one of the highest yielding schools, which is that top tier, if you'll scroll down a little bit, Braden, I've got it colored green. They would receive a larger allocation, whereas blue would receive the next allocation, and then those that are still in gray, they would receive nothing because they're not at 20% service rate. This also helps to support rural schools that may have a harder time receiving an increase in ad valorem, but they would be able to serve a higher rate of students, and they should serve a higher rate of students. So it's a way to incentivize rural schools as well. If we go over to the right further, just a little bit, this is to show you if we got this increase in $25 million, every school would get a increase except for two. Two would not, or would receive a decrease. And to show you where some of the inequity has been, let's scroll all the way to the bottom. Western Technology Center, I wanted to point out, is the bottom one on the list. They have been decreasing in ad valorem over the last decade, but have not received an increase in state aid, so they're only receiving $572,000, where through the formula shows that they should be receiving about 1.9. So we've been doing a disservice by not changing this. As schools went up in ad valorem, they still were receiving the same amount of state aid, and that shouldn't be the case. As they went down, they didn't get any more. We've got to start adjusting that accordingly with what the market does. So this is our draft, but it's been refined quite a bit by the Finance Committee and by our agency staff, and I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of it. Do you have any questions of where we are at this point?
Oh, yeah, tell us about the two.
Go up. So what I would do if we rolled out money, I probably would not cut a school. I know I wouldn't cut a school right away. We would review that for years during the implementation, so I would have to hold out portions to keep them whole to see if that's an error in reporting anywhere that we didn't find. But what I think it is about 2015, what we found, schools went through a reduction formula where we lost money, and so we started cutting schools. Well, those two schools did not receive cuts, and I don't know why, if a director just chose not to at that time. Then we also went through a reallocation phase. Again, there's not a whole lot of documentation of why that happened, so they received reallocation from what we call donor schools. So during that phase, we took dollars away as a system from the largest schools, Tulsa, Metro, Canadian Valley, those that had more ad valorem. They were willing to give up funds to help support the smaller schools. Well, some didn't get cut, some did, and so it just caused this unproportionate amount of money. So those schools, I don't want to actually cut their money right away. I want to study that for the 3-year rollout, because all of this would take a 3-year time to increase or decrease a school so that you don't cause a real problem for them.
But you're saying that Cato would lose $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Great Plains.
No, they would lose.
$4 million.
They're at 4 currently, and that shows they should be at 3. So they'd lose $1 million.
Oh, we're comparing them
Yes.
to.
Their current allocation is that green and red, and then what the formula generates is that column 15 there, or
Okay,
S.
so then going back to Great Plains is at 6.4.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going, so all of those are going down.
No, they're going to go up.
They're at the green and the red.
The green,
They're at the
so
green,
green
and
indicates
they're
that they would be a
going to the-
positive. They would be, they're getting more green.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand.
Okay, the column 15 or S
Yeah.
is the new allocation.
Okay.
The U is the current.
Okay, so
The green
then
is the current.
Indian Capital is getting 2.9 right now, and they're going to
Yes.
jump all the way to 8 million.
Correct, because they added a lot of programs cheaper than anyone else did and served a lot more students.
And
So
you
that's
think
where I say that would be over a,
discrepancy in Central and Cato are from this thing 10 years ago.
yeah, 10 years ago, and then we even saw some documentation from before that where there was not.
The revenue that they're bringing in plays into this, right?
Correct, that's what starts the whole funding formula, which is on the far left, is their local revenue.
And Central had a bunch of new programs like the linemen, and they've had all of those, so their revenue has dramatically increased in the last few years.
Adding programs does not increase your revenue.
So the companies aren't paying for those.
Those are for students, and so we're authorized to give 11th and 12th grade students instruction for free. So
Oh, these are only high school.
not only, but that's the bulk of what we train is high school students. So we do train some adults, about 10,000 adults a year, and the adult tuition has to be at a reduced rate. That's by statute. So like typically for a program that costs $14,000, $15,000, we usually provide it for about $3,000.
Okay.
So it's fairly cheap. We don't make a lot of money off tuition. I don't know what the total would be. Maybe somebody like Sandra might know. Sandra, do you know what our total collection on tuition is? That's what, I don't mean to call you out.
It's gonna vary by school.
Yes. But we are primarily an extension of the high school. That's what we were built to do. We do adult training well, and we do it good, and the ROI is actually better on adults. But our mission was to make sure that adults don't take the place of a junior and senior in high school.
What's the total of the column 15?
Go all the way down, please. Right, it's the 75 million. It'll total back to what was available. So that's where I wanted to change the formula where it can make sense and not, we started with a fictitious number that we think should cost, and then the old formula never made sense because the number input did not match what the number yield should be. So that was the formula that we had from the very beginning of tech centers.
What's the process to move to 75 from the 50.4?
Just get granted that from the legislature this year. So, been pretty receptive. That's what we got in one-time money last year. So all I'm asking is for, at a bare minimum, to keep the one-time money in our base. And the House is definitely very receptive. The Senate's been a little bit more of a struggle, and that's why I'm meeting with them today. But the House has definitely understood that that should be a need.
Do you have anybody specifically that would help for us to talk to or anything?
Senator Pugh. If anybody has a relationship with Senator Pugh, he would be the key there. Yeah. Yep.
If you put the 50.4 in the place of 75, what does that do to the?
It takes from most every school, so it wouldn't be the right time to roll out a new formula. We would just probably stay stagnant, in my opinion.
So, what's the total of the green column?
50.4, that's
Yeah,
what.
okay, that's 50 point.
That's
I
what
thought
we
it was
currently
80, my bad,
distribute. Yeah, that's what we currently
So
distribute.
that's what it would stay. I guess my question is, if I suffer a decrease in ad valorem, I expect more money from the state.
Correct. So what it would do then is calculate, because it's figured annually based off your ad valorem starts it. So if you lose ad valorem, say Chisholm Trail, I had this discussion with their superintendent yesterday because we had gone over this formula with the superintendents, which most of them liked it pretty well, but he has a large amount of his funding locally comes from windmills. So if there's a protest or if I lose ad valorem, how do I adjust? So what it would do is decrease that number that starts this whole thing initially, and then it would recalculate and redistribute for everyone, so it would pull from the whole formula to adjust. But it doesn't swing, because it works on a 3-year average, so it doesn't swing fast enough that a school couldn't budget. So they can still prepare and adjust as the time is coming. Because the way it would work is that you would receive a auditable allocation from your spring numbers. So we would go through your spring numbers and figure out where you're at, and that would start your year. And then we would, October 15th, audit and review again, and you would receive a mid-year adjustment. That would be small adjustments and not anything big at one time.
So do we have some that are getting more money from the state than they are ad valorem?
Yes, Wes Watkins.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Only one?
my question is
I think
there,
it's my only one I'm aware of off my head is Wes Watkins. They are very low socioeconomic area. Most receive more money from their ad valorem.
so what motivates a CareerTech district to increase their ad valorem if they know that the state's has their back?
Yeah, so the ad valorem is out of their control. They don't have a way to control that. That's done by their county assessors, really, is what drives that city or that district that they're in drives the ad valorem. They can't change it. Once it's voted in, then
Yeah, but they can have an election and change it.
They could only change it within the 3 millages, which would be pretty small, and most of that's on the building. Almost, that's on their building fund, and this does not contribute to their building fund.
Okay.
Every school except one is at a full operational fund, so they can't change it now. They only allow 10 mills for general operation fund, and every school but one is at that full 10 mills. And the other one has, because it's Tulsa Tech, they have to share 2 mills with Tulsa Community College, so they can't change theirs either. So they're really locked into their ad valorem. Assessors do increase on average at 3% per year. So it will grow. And so to give you an example, like a Canadian Valley is our fastest growing area right now. El Reno, Yukon, Mustang, that area is really, really growing fast. So they're adding programs to help take care of the need of students. So they will receive state aid for that initially, but as their ad valorem surpasses, they will get less state aid.
Gotcha.
Because once the businesses and the houses and all those things are built, their need for state aid dependency will come down. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll change as the economies change in those areas as well.
So let's just say, for instance, you only got 70 million.
Mm-hmm.
The formula takes care of that by that bottom number on the
Yes.
S column is going to be 70, and then it
Go to the very top left, Braden.
you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm going to show you how it actually works. There you go. So that's where that 75 in the yellow box starts everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're right. You're at the right number, but that is an outcome to make sure that those match. The input is where we start with.
So the common denominator is the 75, not the ad valorem.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I guess my biggest
If you
question.
put 70 in that E,
It would change everything.
Yeah.
Yep. By a little bit.
Got it.
Yep.
So what amount, because you said if it stayed at 50, you wouldn't look at doing it. I mean, at what amount?
At 70, we can. It would be, I would present to you again, 65 would be pretty iffy if we would do it. We need to increase close to 70, 75, or be at that to make it where we can shift schools without hurting too many of them. Because we've waited so long to fix this, it's been 2 directors since it's been viewed. So we need to be careful in adjusting it because we've gotten way out of whack now.
So do you plan on the 2 that's getting more than they should, or no matter what, are you looking at a way to start a reduction there on those?
Yeah, at some point, or give them time to adjust the number of programs that they're offering. So what I need to do is give them a window of time, probably 3 years, to either adjust your services or we'll have to start toward reduction.
How did we come up with 75 million?
Because that is what we got with our base and our one-time money from last year. So if they put that back in our base, that 25 million that we did in that one-time funding mechanism last year, if they put that into our base, that's the money we would have.
Okay. The one-time money is the same money that we're using to try and get rid of waiting lists?
Yes. Yep, correct. And if we put it into a base, it would actually do more to get rid of waiting lists because it would distribute to the schools that are growing and adding programs.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be a better mechanism to do that. I
Gotcha.
just have to convince the legislature of that. Which they gave 165 million to OU to build a STEM building last year, so just give us 25. Yeah, should be. Okay, any other questions? I knew this was one of our goals, so I wanted to make sure that we had some discussion around it. Nothing to take action on there. Thank you. Moving into item 4.01, discussion and possible action on full post-secondary accreditation for Green Country Technology Center, and we have representatives present, and we have Mr. Joey Vanek here as accreditation manager. First time to present on an accreditation, so think of every hard question you could think of.
All right,
Jessica's got him trained well. Joey, if you will, introduce your team before you get started.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we have Sandra McKnight, our financial aid specialist, and then Andra Byer, our accreditation coordinator. And then today we couldn't have Alan Naws. Alan Naws is our safety civil rights. He's currently on a civil rights visit, or he would be here. And then we have Desi Byer, our admin assistant, who's back in Stillwater. Perfect. Well, hopefully you don't have too many hard questions for me. I may look at Jessica if I get nervous, though, so we'll see. The first part that I'm going to go over with you is just kind of how we do our accreditation visits, same kind of language that we had last time as well. And then I'll go tech center by tech center with our recommendation and our findings. So for both technology centers, the examiners evaluated all aspects of the technology center's operations using the quality standards approved by this board and listed in the accreditation guidelines published by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education. These standards address leadership and administration, instruction and training, support services, measurement and analysis, personnel, operations, and system impact. The accreditation staff also conducted technical visits for financial aid, safety, and civil rights before the visit to help staff prepare. Examiners began by reviewing the application the Technology Center submitted. They also interviewed Technology Center administrators, certified and support staff, students and stakeholders. The stakeholders interviewed included business and industry representatives, community leaders, partner school administrators, teachers, and parents of students attending the technology centers. Interviews were conducted by virtual group interviews and individual on-site interviews. Examiners also observed all program areas. If approved, the technology centers will have 90 days to submit an action plan addressing one opportunity for improvement identified in the report for each of the 6 quality standards. Agency staff will monitor progress towards the completion of these continuous improvement action plans and provide technical assistance as needed. All right, so first up, we have Green Country Technology Center. On October 8th through the 10th, 2024, the Accreditation Division conducted a hybrid accreditation review at Green Country Technology Center in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. The examiner team was comprised of 23 examiners and ODCT staff, including 14 examiners from technology centers. During the review, examiners interviewed 17 stakeholders in various manners, including individual settings and in small groups. Examiners found no areas of noncompliance. We recommend the board grant full accreditation status to Green Country Technology Center.
And do we have their team here?
Yes.
Roger, if you'd like to say anything, you're more than welcome to.
Well, always, if I get an opportunity to speak.
I'll let you come to the mic. Yeah, watch out for the screens. They've been known to cause a few headaches.
Especially if there's a microphone involved, you get the opportunity to speak. But it's good to see some of you again. Some of you had the opportunity to come to Green Country for a board meeting, so it's good to see you again this morning. I do have our biz director with me today, Mr. Wade Lackey, one of our administrators at Green Country. Does an outstanding job. You know, they talk about this apprenticeship deal in the state of Oklahoma. I would say I'd put him up against anybody. What we're doing at Green Country, we don't have big businesses, but he's got 3 apprenticeships and companies right now that are just tremendous of upskilling their people. So I wanted to make sure to introduce him. But I do want to thank the accreditation team. I'm not going to say it's something you always look forward to because there is a lot to prepare that, and really I can't take credit on any of it. We got an outstanding staff that do that. But the accreditation team, the examiners that come, they do an outstanding job, and it's not, for you guys' sake, it's not just something they take lightly, I promise you. They spend a lot of time on that. They're very prepared when they come, and so I want to thank you guys at the agency especially because you do a tremendous amount with that. So I would entertain any questions that you guys have for us. You know, Green Country, we're really growing, and you know, talking about this formula, yeah, we're one that we would kind of benefit from that because, you know, if you look at economic development in Okmulgee, we could use business and industry, that's for sure. We're thankful for what we have, Mr. Rob. But so our enrollment, gosh, in the last 3 years, we've grown about 70%. We serve about, our junior and senior enrollment in the last 3 years have grown 115%. So we're serving about 35% of all the juniors and seniors in our 8 sending schools. So we're at a place that we're kind of experiencing growing pains because we're going to have waiting lists and things like that. And actually, we are going to go to our taxpayers. We're not fully funded on our building fund. We do have 10 mills on the general, but we're only at 2 on our building. And actually, our board approved our resolution this month that we're going to ask the voters in Okmulgee County for 3 additional mills on the building fund. So we can add another program, really, is kind of what we're after. So I'd entertain any questions. I don't want to take too much of your time.
So back on waiting lists, this is, I guess, a pet peeve of mine, but so bear with me because I don't know exactly how to ask the question. But so the solution in your leadership's mind is build another classroom or more classrooms, and then use the funding either for that or to help get more instructors so that we can alleviate that pressure.
So our capacity on the campus right now, last year, we ended the year with about 112% capacity. I push enrollment pretty hard. I mean, that's one of the OFIs actually in the accreditation report. I push enrollment pretty hard. So we'll have 22 in most of our classes. And we actually added another construction trades instructor this year. I told them to hold their ears when I said that, because we had, like 50 kids in construction trades last year, and I had a helper. We've got 80 kids in it this year, and I hired another teacher. Cosmetology had a waiting list, so we added another teacher in cosmetology. So I added 2 programs, and I just absorbed that. Now, the one-time money you guys was able to help us with really helped us at Green Country to do that, because that's where all that money's being coded to for the addition of those 2 instructors. But even adding those 2 programs, we're still above 100% capacity.
Wow.
So
awesome.
So I have to add another program of some sort.
So,
really grow.
to be fair to Roger, always is good to call me and say, hey, I'm probably going to get in trouble because I'm over capacity. And I said, that'll be okay. We'll take care of it. If you'll notice on page 62 and 63, you can look at his increases from adult career development all the way to academic credit, CTSO membership, everything is up. Just so you know a little bit about that county, I know a few of you do, or that district, very low college entrance rate in that area, so they're looking for something in that area to get post-secondary education. I don't remember what some of your schools were talking about, but most of them in the teens or low 20s at sending students to college. They need Green Country to be able to provide services.
Have you noticed some sort of increase due to anything in particular? Because I know that I'm in Tulsa, so I know that to be true already, but yes, you're experiencing a large influx. Is there any particular event or something that you're noticing, or just that people are seeing less value in
I do think we was able to steal a marketing guy from Muskogee Nation, and he is tremendous in terms of our social media presence. I don't know how to say it other than that. I mean, he does an outstanding job. But also, as you kind of look at performance with the new funding formula, I mean, that's something that I started about 3 years ago. So at our campus, we have what we call the Go Green Performance Measurement Policy. I'm big on data. So we've got measurements. If our instructors in those programs hit benchmarks at certain areas, they qualify for an incentive. Well, enrollment capacity is number 1. So if they're above 97% on capacity, they qualify for a gold incentive. And I usually pay those right before Christmas. And then we look at completion or retention, and we look at certification licensure, and then we look at like our competitions with our CTSO, but also have a bottom side to all those as well. So if they don't perform above 60%, they'll get flagged in those areas, and 3 years of that could cause a program closure. So I do think that performance policy is also driven. I've got teachers now, hey, let's get some more kids in here, to start with at the first of the year and stuff. So I think that's helped as well. And then just the value, I think, of what we're doing, with the certification. We've had, I can't remember exactly, but the increase, putting stuff together for our millage election, the increase we've had in certification licensures in the last 3 years has just been tremendous.
What are your most popular programs?
Welding. I could open up another welding program. And that's one where I'm really limited on space. So about 15 is the max, but I was able to kind of redo that shop. He used to be our welding instructor. He can tell you how small it is. We equipped it for 18. So we have 18 in the morning, 18 at night, and I could do a whole nother program like that.
And how quickly do they get that certification?
So the adults can get it in a year, and then the high school students would be 2 years. And what we shoot for, so 3G and 6G, so is the 2 that we're after. And again, if they achieve that, they get a bonus on it. But again, all students must pass those at 60%, or they'll get flagged on that. So that's kind of how our policy works.
Shay, to add on to your question there. I mean, they've done a great job with performance policies at Green Country, but also I think we used to have this narrative where CareerTech is the best kept secret, and where he spoke to marketing, we've tried to make sure that that is not the case anywhere. As COVID changed the job market, where we realized the value of trades and wages went up, we've been able to exploit's not the right word, but show people that there's good jobs out there if you're willing to work, and so that's helped all tech centers, and being able to see, oh, if I can take a year outside of school or 2 years while I'm in school, I can be earning 60 to 70,000 without any debt. So it's made a big change, and just getting the narrative out.
Yeah.
What's your most popular building trade?
Oh, construction trades, you know, would be.
General, yeah.
Yeah, right now for sure. I mean, we've got 80-something kids in there.
If you get a chance and haven't been by there, there's a house being built right outside the classroom, two being built now.
I thought you had two.
Two of them being
Two
built.
houses, and that class actually, with our limited building fund, so we moved our adult health, our LPN program, to the second oldest building on campus, the Jerry Painter Building, which used to be the superintendent there. Actually, our construction trades class did that remodel themselves, so.
And a lot of the work that they're doing is outside, so they could add that without having a lot of extra classroom space. I mean, when we saw them, they were under a lean-to working when the weather was
Yeah.
bad, and out on the house when it's decent, so.
Yeah. So, well, thank you guys for your support.
Roger, good job.
Thank you.
Joey, we'll turn it back over to you. Do you guys have questions for Joey on their accreditation or anything within the report?
I move we pass accreditation.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion? Ashley, will you please call for a vote?
Michael Brown,
Yes.
Peter Dillingham,
Yes.
Shaylin Hanning,
Yes.
Edward Hillary,
Yes.
Rob Seaman,
Yes.
Zachary Archer.
Yes.
All right, thank you all. Joey, I'll let you go ahead and proceed with our next accreditation at Southern Technology Center.
Perfect. On September 24th through the 26th, 2024, the Accreditation Division conducted a hybrid accreditation review at Southern Oklahoma Technology Center in Ardmore, Oklahoma, including their Love County site. The examiner team was comprised of 28 examiners and ODCT staff, including 18 examiners from technology centers. During the review, examiners interviewed 15 stakeholders in various manners, including individual settings and in small groups. Examiners found no areas of noncompliance. We recommend the board grant full accreditation status to Southern Oklahoma Technology Center. Are there any questions for me? Otherwise, Dr. Ward is also here if you have questions for him, or if he would like to speak.
Go ahead and go on up there.
See, I knew the quality of coffee that was here, so I brought my own. You know, there's just certain things in this life that have to be right. And that's, so anyway, if you don't have DECA kids here to learn to make coffee for you, I highly recommend it. Just saying. All right. Well, thank you all for your time today. It's my honor and privilege to represent Southern Tech. This is Mike Martin. He is my new assistant superintendent. This is his first year, which is my first year at Southern was when we finished our previous accreditation. So I walked in the door and they're like, here. So I enjoyed being a part of this from the ground up, and I think that's where Mike is at right now. I really appreciate the process that our state has. I'm a transplant, and so I came here from Colorado a few years ago, and the technical school that I was at there used the Council on Occupational Education for our accrediting body, and which it was nice, a very similar structure. The big difference, and I think the kudos that we have here in Oklahoma goes to that team over there, because it's very different when you are being evaluated by a team of people from other like tech centers. For the Council on Occupational Education, it was great feedback, but you may have somebody from Tennessee and somebody from Utah and somebody from Florida. And so you're getting all of this feedback that you may or may not even be able to use it because it's not the same system. The way we have it here is just, it's an incredible opportunity for growth. And so, you know, going from everything to how I do my job to our enrollment processes and what our job placement coordinator does and what our WED director does, So it's a wonderful opportunity, and some people might dread accreditation. I'm a nerd, and I love going through the data, and I love doing all those things. So this is really a great opportunity to show off what our school does, but also things that we can get better at. And so I guess if you haven't had a chance to kind of look through ours, we're trying to do some things differently to address wait lists. To we're going to have some. We've had an ongoing challenge in Ardmore with the downsizing of our Michelin plant. And so we've been front and center on how are we going to support our Michelin neighbors as they are transitioning into whatever's next. And just even looking at our WED numbers, I'm on the Michelin task force, and we had, since they announced their downsizing, in one way, shape, or form, had served 600 and some of those employees from Michelin, either helping them transition into something else, get additional certifications. We even had a couple go through our basic peace officer program. So they went from Michelin to now being a peace officer. We had 10 of them go from Michelin and then through our EMT program. So really exciting to see that, but also just the opportunity to help folks find out what's next. And so, yeah, we put a lot of emphasis on our high school students, but we also know that our adult students are have an impact very, very quickly on the economic development in our community. So they should have never given me a microphone either, because I'll just keep going. What questions do you have for me? Is there anything else
Questions for Dr. Ward? Probably have not got to see his school yet.
So, they're wide-ranging from healthcare. I would say on the healthcare side, our nursing track is very popular, and we've done a lot of work the past couple of years to work with higher ed and our high school partners to try to fast-track students through the nursing program. And so, for instance, if a student wants to be go into nursing, they can start off by doing the first year of the LPN program as a high school student. So they would take that, say, as a senior in high school. Then they would come back to us as a returning student and finish their LPN program. And then we've also got articulation agreements where if our students pass that NCLEX, which we have a 100% pass rate, because our instructors are really, really good, with that passing of the NCLEX exam, they now have advanced standing into Murray State, and they only have to complete another year to get their RN.
Do you find that a lot of people take advantage of that?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the way we've done it is we've created an off-ramp at every stage. So if a student finishes that first year and they're like, I just need to go get a job or whatever, they can go get that job. They can always come back later, or they can go straight into that second year. There's always an opportunity to get off the highway and get back on it to continue their education.
That's great.
Their partnership with Murray State has been really good, and I believe even Murray State has now partnered with OU to even move those nursing students forward.
Yeah,
so it's been a really good synchronous system.
Yeah, we're still in kind of the early years of it, so we haven't had any students get all the way up. I think that this class that we've got right now could be, have gone through Murray and now could be going into OU's nursing program, so. And then others, the welding, HVAC, we've doubled in the last year. We could easily expand and double our electrician program, both automotive repair and collision repair. We could easily double those programs as well.
Do you know at all, it's okay if you don't, do you know at all if you're seeing any increase in women also participating in those?
Yes, and absolutely. And I think it's, if you go into our construction program, I would say that morning session is about half, it's half and half. And during our skills competition, I can't remember how they finished, but we swept.
Second and third.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won first, but second and third were female.
And I want you to know you're way tougher, because this girl, she sent a nail through her finger, pulled the nail out, put a Band-Aid back on, and got back to work. It was impressive. We were just like,
we were in there. Yeah.
Should we call somebody? So no, it was So I would say that's a small sample, but across our programs, I would say there's been a great increase, and we're trying to break those stereotypes. We're trying to have different conversations with our counselors at our partner schools. and letting them understand that, gosh, our females are really good at this, and not only can they not have to go into nursing, they can go into the skilled trades and perform better than a lot of our male students.
Morning Diesel has 3 females also.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting because I'm a girl dad, so I definitely want to move anything out of the way for our female students.
Other questions for Dr. Ward?
If you think of anything, just come down and hang out with us.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming. Any other questions for Joey on the accreditation as presented? I would entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second for approval of accreditation for Southern Tech. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Ashley, will you call for a vote?
Zachary Archer.
Yes.
Rob Seaman.
Yes.
Edward Hillary.
Yes.
Shaylin Hanning.
Yes.
Peter Dillingham.
Yes.
Michael Brown.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Joey. You did great your first time. Okay, item 4.03, discussion and possible action to adopt the draft emergency rule, the rule impact statement. I'm not going to read all of that to you. We're going to have the expert on rules that we have, our resident expert, Gina Hubbard. She's going to talk to you about our emergency rule. We presented this to you. You approved last month to move forward with the process. Now we would have, well, she's going to tell you about what we need now. I'll let you do it. I won't steal your thunder.
You almost finished for me, thank you. Well, good morning, good to see you all, always good to be here. This is not my first time to present rules, but hopefully it will be the last for a little while. So appreciate your support and patience through our rulemaking process. The first thing I do want to point out is on the agenda, it references House Bill 3272 that supports this rule. That should be 3276, and we'll get that corrected for the minutes. So just a little cleanup item there. So as Director Haken said, last month you approved for us to enter into the emergency rulemaking process, and the next step is to request adoption of the emergency rule and the rule impact statement. All of these items and the supporting documentation are in your packet. They are currently marked draft, pending your approval, as well as any formatting changes that might be suggested by the Office of Administrative Rules. So once this rule is adopted and filed with the Office of Administrative Rules, the governor has 45 days to approve the emergency rule. And with that, I will take any questions.
So board members, that's kind of the reason why we needed to move forward with this process, so that it would be available to schools when they're thinking about hiring for this next school year. That's why we're moving forward, so this spring they would have this in mind. Remember, this rule is for that workplace specialist, the person that would be a different route than the traditional certification, so that if they hire a retired or current member of the workforce into a teaching position, they would not have to go back and get a college education to keep that teaching certificate. They could use their workplace hours to count toward that. Any other questions for Gina? If not, we need a motion to approve.
Move for adoption of this emergency rule.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve, and I would note again that the House bill referenced is 3276, that we are voting on the rule to be adopted. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ashley, will you call for a vote?
Michael Brown.
Yes.
Peter Dillingham.
Yes.
Shaylin Hanning.
Yes.
Edward Hillary.
Yes.
Rob Seaman.
Yes.
Zachary Archer.
Yes.
All right, great, thank you. Thank you, Gina.
Oh, thank you.
Any other comments for us while you're there? No? You want? Okay.
I'm not on a scooter, that's fine.
She's walking on her own 2 feet now. Item 4.04, you should have information in your packet. Sohail, again, is not here, so if we have questions about the questionnaire or anything, I think Whitney's going to try to help us through that. We have discussion and possible action on the position description questionnaire and cover letter to be submitted to OMES to increase the pay band of the State Director of Career and Technology Education. And I think you guys are pretty aware of this, as it's been discussions that members of the board have had with
our representation there. So if you have any questions, I will try to answer. I'm not as familiar with the process as what Sohail or maybe even Whitney would be, but I think you guys have had quite a bit of discussion around this. So what we're seeking today is if you want to move forward, we would need to approve these as presented, and then members of the board would need to sign an official document. Did I say that right, Whitney? All that good?
Yes, and probably just one person. I don't know if the whole board needs to sign.
Okay. We don't have our chair, but we'll have somebody sign it.
So is this questionnaire for us?
No, the questionnaire generated, the agency and myself filled out. It's a questionnaire OMES mandates before they would consider in changing or increasing a pay band. So it's not for you to fill out. It is about the description of my job, but definitely you need to approve it. So you're looking over that to see if it sounds accurate to you, if anything looks wrong or inappropriate. But HR does portions of it, and then I do portions of it as well, and then Sohail was the one that reviewed the document.
Is this the same one that you filled out, that you had to fill out last time and everything?
It is. We had different guidance from OMES this time, from what Sohail told me. They gave him some input on how it should be done this time, and so we made changes to what the questionnaire. It's very different than what we did last time as far as the answers go, to give a lot more description for them. So it's the same questionnaire, but a lot different completion. And then the letter attached, Sohail drafted. I did not.
Does it discuss amounts?
No.
It's on the,
That's a good question.
I think it just said requested to adjust the rate.
No, that's the
Yeah.
he oversees.
Number that it shows in there now.
To be honest, I've stayed out of a lot of it.
sorry. I was curious.
I'm sorry,
Doesn't make any sense.
that was a no.
I don't see the amount in there just to increase, the authority to increase.
So it's percentages or?
The information that's provided on amounts and the percentages there is my duty and what I'm assigned or tasked to do. As I see it, you may see it differently, but that's the percentages that you will see. It's an assignment of amount of time that I put in different areas. That's really difficult to do, to be honest. There's no set amount of time that you put to any task.
I guess my question is, we have at least a certain amount that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing in here that says what that is. So
No.
at what point do they decide what is the next pay band? Are we saying a pay band?
I think they're saying prove his job and then we get to come back and ask. I think that's what I feel like this
I was
questionnaire is
thinking that
about.
the next pay band up actually had the number we were looking for in it actually.
The way I understand it, I haven't dug in and then Randy would probably have some more information. I know he had a lot of discussions. He's not here today, and Sohail definitely has looked in it. So if you have any different information, Whitney, that's great. But OMES has pay bands on top of what ours currently exist.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just wanting to get into those pay bands, I guess.
So first we gotta get permission to change a pay band and then we can say which one.
I think so.
Well, and the current pay band is a grade D11, and so the minimum is 160,893, mid is 157,806, and max is 189,367.
Right.
So that's the pay band you're currently in. Your guys are asking for an increase, it would be a pay band above that.
Yeah. I think they're just using this.
Once you're within a pay band, I only know this because of the other pay bands that we work with, then it's the discretion of the department where we're at within the pay band that you use. You just have to get access to that pay band.
Okay.
And I think when we looked at it before, the next pay band up had the numbers we were looking at.
Okay.
You need a motion to submit?
If you want to proceed with this request to OMES, we would need approval of the information presented.
We need a motion for both the letter and or just a simple?
Well, you would need to approve both of them. So you could either do them separately or you could do it combined, but you need to approve both the letter and the questionnaire.
Do we need to approve somebody to sign the letter or just that?
Well, usually it would be a chair, but the chair's not here today.
We don't have a chair.
Walters.
Superintendent Walters.
Oh. Never mind. My bad.
Okay.
No comment.
I move we approve or submit, or approve the submittal of both the questionnaire and cover letter to OMES. And I also move that we approve Shaylin Hanning to sign on behalf of the board with full board approval.
I second that.
Done and done.
There's
Let
a
me get my
motion and a
ice
second on the floor. Is there any further
You
discussion?
typed up the stuff last time.
Seeing no discussion, Ashley, will you call for a vote?
Zachary Archer,
Yes.
Rob Seaman,
Yes.
Edward Hillary,
Yes.
Shayla Hanning,
Yes.
Peter Dillingham,
Yes.
Michael Brown.
Yes.
All right, motion is approved. Is there any?
really do want me to
Sign.
Yeah,
She has.
she has a one you'll sign.
Oh, this is not a
Well, it's just copies of the same thing.
great in the others.
Okay, do we have any new business? I don't think the coffee pot's appropriate for new business. I think she'd shut us down, but it's duly noted.
Okay.
What is it?
Yeah. Seeing no new business, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Ashley, will you call for a vote?
Michael Brown,
Yes.
Peter Dillingham,
Yes.
Shayla Hanning,
Yes.
Edward Hillary,
Yes.
Rob Seaman,
Yes.
Zachary Archer.
Yes.
All right, everybody, thanks for coming. We are adjourned.
Baby.
I'll not screw it up so bad next time.
Came early. He was supposed to get born tomorrow.
I did decide where we needed like weather.
Well, they're in New York.
Oh, so I think you did perfect timing.
Actually did well.
We had a little bit Tuesday morning that kind of.
This is better.
This is trust
me. I don't want to see anyone that is sad.
Most of my staff went home about I was worried about it. I went home about 5:36 plus.
Is this her first? Yes, so you know nothing.
My first